Welcome back to this lesson in Advanced Excel on conditional formatting. First, let me go ahead and group my visuals. Press Control click, Control click, Control click. Right click and go to Group. There we go. It's going to move this to the side. Now I want to focus on this data right here. Now it's nice to see my data in this nice column chart right here, but what I want to do is I want to see some visuals based on just these numbers right here. Now suppose your boss had a quota of $1,000 per month. Each employee was supposed to make $1,000 in sales. He wants to have a talk to the sales reps that are not meeting the quota, and he wants to congratulate the ones who are. So let's see if we can do that. Let's go ahead and select our data. Let's go to Conditional Formatting on the Home tab. Let's click Highlight Cells Rules. Let's go to Greater Than. So for this one, let's change this to 1,000. And instead of red, let's make this green. There we go. So that's a very quick way of showing your sales reps who sold over $1,000. So that's one example how conditional formatting works, and there are a ton of options. I'm not going to go through all of them. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. The highlight cells rules, we have the top rules, but let's go to manage rules. So this shows you the order, it shows you which rules are the top, which formatting rules are in this selection. Let's go ahead and delete this. Let's go with new rule. So all the options when you click on conditional formatting are these options right here. Whether it's highlight cells rules, whether it's greater than or whatever, this is the basis right here. This is where you first start. You can make any of the rules right here when you click on new rule. It's going to change a bit depending on which one you go with. But if you want to make any new rules, this is where you can start for a new rule. Let's go ahead and delete that and click apply. There we go. So for this, let's go ahead and make a copy of our data. Let's say equals 1 to the left, enter. Go ahead and copy this down. There we go. Now since we have this selected, let's go ahead and do a conditional formatting. This time, let's do data bars. Now watch what happens. Let's go with this light blue. Go ahead and click it. Now we have data bars representing which one is higher, which ones are shorter, but we can still see these numbers, but we don't really need these numbers since we made a copy. This is how I like to do it. I like to have the numbers on the left, and I like to have the data bars on the right. And go to Manage Rules. And for this one, let's double click. Let's click on Show Bar Only. And press OK. And you click Apply. And what do you know? Now we have basically this right here. This column chart, it's exactly the same as this data right here. So now we have a bar chart over here, which is exactly the same as this column chart over here. As you can see, it's completely dynamic as well. We can change this, it'll change these data bars. You can see the biggest one is Oscar right here. Sure enough, Oscar right here. But let's go a step further. Let's go ahead and highlight these. Now let's make it just a bit easier to see. Let's go to top bottom rules. Let's go top 10. Let's change this to 1. Instead of red, let's go with a green. And click OK. In fact, let's go ahead and manage the rules. Let's make that a little bit darker. Let's go to Format. Alright, so let's go to Fill. Change this to a dark green. Press Apply. And we're good. Whether you press OK or whether you press Apply, it'll be the same thing. So when you press OK, it applies the conditional formatting rule, and it also gets you out of that box. So now, as we change this, sure enough, it shows us the top sales rep of that month. Because sometimes this can be hard to see which one's the top one, if it's close enough. So those are some of the things I use conditional formatting for. Like I said, there are a ton of options. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them, because they're pretty self-explanatory. You can even use text that contains, if it's a certain serial number, but it's text, you can use this for text that contains, so it'll help it pop out. Also, let's go to New Rule. You can also use the format only unique or duplicate value. If you have a list of lots of things, but you're trying to get rid of duplicates, or maybe you just want to show which ones are unique, you can highlight these, change that to unique. You can format the cell however you want to help it stand out. You can use the icons if you want. Basically, it kind of shows you how your data is doing. Let me go ahead and highlight that. Basically, it kind of shows you how your data is doing. The ones toward the bottom, you have a down arrow. The ones that are good have an up arrow. The ones that are kind of in the middle have this kind of yellow arrow. You can have your ratings. So those are some things to keep in mind. And it puts it to the left so you can have the number to the right so you can see it better. Some people also like this color scale. Sometimes if I use a color scale, I'll try to use this green, white, red. That way, instead of having a yellow in the middle, I can have it be white. That way, in my opinion, it looks a little bit nicer. That to me is just maybe a little bit too colorful. Well, since there are only 12 of them, I would probably just want maybe the top two and maybe the bottom two to stand out. So let's do that. Let's press Manage Rules. Let's go ahead and delete that one. And let's go ahead and delete that one as well. Let's go to New Rule. Let's go by the rank. Let's say top two. You can also use the percentage of the selected range instead of an actual number. So if you have 1,000 rows of data, you can do the top 2%, top 5%, or whatever. Let's go and leave it for 2 for now. Click Apply. Oh, sorry about that. We forgot to format it. Let's make the fill, say green. And let's go Apply. There we go. Let's add another one. Let's do the bottom two based on the rank. Go bottom two. Format. Let's go red. Click Apply. There we go. That's probably good for right now. Now don't go crazy with this. I've seen people do all kinds of weird stuff. They have the color fill or the color scales, and they do the red, yellow, green. But it's so many rows of data that it's just kind of muddies it, and in my opinion, it makes it look even more unreadable. So try to stay away from that. Make it clear as possible. You don't want to muddy your data. You don't want to make it look unrecognizable. But a conditional formatting here and there will go a long way. Just a quick note about the formatting rules. Let's just say that you had two rules. The first rule stated that the cell was red if it dipped below the average. And let's just say the second rule said highlight the cell green if it's over 1,000. Well, let's just say you had a very good sales month. Let's just say that every employee sold over $1,000 worth of product. Well, that would mean that they would all show up as green. But if any employees dipped below the average, it would highlight red. So, what would happen to the data if it dipped below the average? Would it be green or would it be red? Well, it would be red, because the red would be at the top. So even though they sold over 1,000, it should be green, but since it dips below the average, it would be red because it's at the very top. So it receives the number one rank of importance. So keep that in mind as you make your rules. Also, it's worthy of note that you can also make your conditional formatting based on a formula. So if you go to New Rule, you could make it based on a formula. And for this one, you can really get creative. You can make this cell based on this option button. If this is greater than 1 format, let's make that black. Let's see what happens. So if I went back to 2020, yep, it all becomes black. So if for whatever reason you didn't want to show the actual totals, you could delete the numbers and just show which employee did the best without giving away the numbers. So if Michael Scott wanted to do a reveal at the end of the year without giving away the numbers, he could just show which employee is in the lead. You could say now previous year, then show the actual numbers, then say, okay, for 2020, you can black out the numbers and just say who's in the lead. Then at the end of the year, reveal the totals. But the sky is the limit when you format the cells based on a formula. When I was in high school, I had one friend. He took out the textbook, and on one page he highlighted literally everything, and he thought it would help him study. But when he went back to the page, he found out that it didn't really help him because he highlighted everything. So if everything stands out, nothing stands out. So use conditional formatting sparingly. Use just a little bit here and there to kind of help you figure out where your high points are and your low points are, and that'll go a long way. Take care, and I'll see you again in the next lesson.